Yeah, we're here with Bill Rose this morning. Bill served in Malaya. Bill, tell us just in a short few words about your involvement in the service.
Well, I joined the Navy in 1958 as a boy of 17 and stayed in the Navy for 38 years, paying off in 1996. That's when we moved here. And while I was in the Navy, I was lucky enough in the early stages to do things like going to the Far East on my first tour. The sad part was that it was a war, but well, you know, that's the way it goes. But that's what I joined for, I think, to do what I could to ensure that we all have freedom in Australia.
One thing they've become aware of, and I come from a generation where I understand that Vietnam was, and the veterans from there felt they were probably a little bit unliked or unwanted by the Australian public. Is that true?
Well, when they came home, and even while the Vietnam campaign was on, any serviceman in uniform that got off a train in Sydney, for instance, he'd be likely to wear a bucket of red paint or things like that.
Really?
And we used to always make sure we carried a spare uniform in our bag.
Right.
And it was a pretty hard time because, we're here to defend Australian people and to give them the right to protest.
Yes.
And here they were protesting against us.
My goodness. And now, what I see happening is, obviously we've seen the passing of the Gallipoli generation.
Yes.
We've lost our last diggers from back then. Do you see a softening or a little bit of an easing a bit of the tension that was back then? Obviously there's amongst the school children and the people of younger age, there's an appreciation now of the Vietnam veterans, is there not?
Yes, well, there's a bigger understanding of it and why we were there and why we participated. And, the younger generation they're more educated than we were.
Yes.
And that means to me that they've got a bit more common sense. And they can understand that it wasn't the soldier's fault. He was doing what his country wanted him to do. And, there we go.
Good morning, here we are again. We're with Les Hiddins, better known as the Bush Tucker Man. He served in Vietnam. Now, Les, the specific question I've got for you is, back during the time of Vietnam, obviously it's a fairly difficult time to be in the service. But here we've seen today with the Anzac ceremony here at Airlie Beach that there's now a much warmer reception for Vietnam vets.
Yeah, well, what was going on back then is that the war was very politicised, and there was the one side and the other side, and et cetera, and I won't go into who was on what side and who was on the other side, but that's all been swept away these days, and particularly in the last 15 years, the tide has gone 180 degrees, and now, at long last, the Vietnam veterans are being welcomed warmly and honestly and genuinely back into our society.
And Les, with your son serving overseas and in the force at the moment, what's the sort of reception he gets? Does he have any concerns or worries about...
Well, they're getting a much better reception, of course, these days because the wars over there, the conflicts that we're involved with, be it Iraq and be it Afghanistan, have not been politically divisive back here in Australia. And there has not been, for instance, one side of politics saying, yes, be there, and the other side saying, no, get out of there and it's wrong and that sort of thing. Sure, there's political ambitions in those directions, but people are not pointing to the soldiers and giving them a hard time, the servicemen. And that's quite different to what happened in Vietnam. In Vietnam, the actual individual soldiers were given a hard time, which is not happening these days.
Oh, that's tremendous. Obviously, the Whitsunday is a wonderful place to visit for most people. We get a lot of tourism down here. Do you think that there's anything you could look forward to getting into here?
Well, I haven't up until now, but it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, we've got some rather questionable food in some of the establishments here.
I've heard that.
And out amongst the islands, is there anything particularly that we should be looking for food-wise out there?
Well, I'm not particularly familiar with your island groups here, but I do remember many, many years ago they had a little survival exercise out there with Deanne Salento as one of the participants, and I can remember to this day she was hooking into a palm saying, oh, this is heart of palm. It was a cycad, and I'm saying, don't eat that, you'll die. And sure enough, she got very sick.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got to know what you're doing.
Thank you very much. We'll watch all your series back to back. Thanks, Les.
Righto, you're welcome, mate.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been another marvellous day in the Whitsundays. The weather's been great, and the efforts of the people who've put together today's parade, the dawn service and the ceremonies are to be congratulated. Lest we forget.